Today, we are building a tiny beach house, the kind of place your para would move into after an impulsive, I need a new life by the ocean decision. This was my first attempt at building only after a few hours with the game. I thought it might be fun for you to see me struggle. As you watch, remember, Paralives is still in early access. Grab your favorite snack, listen to the ocean waves, and embrace the chaos unfolding on the screen. Let's get started. Hello, most awesome Sims 2 fans and Paralive enthusiasts. Welcome to the channel. I'm Tipsy Mommy Shark. Being a life simulation player, I had to try Paralives. This person is actually my second Parafolk, made specifically for building. The poor para you saw dealing with the fire early on is my younger Tipsy Mommy self, bravely sacrificing herself in the name of early playtesting. I love the idea of creating a small beachside home. Since I have almost no real in-game experience, when I built this, I figured something tiny, cozy, and bite-sized would be the perfect place to start before my paras inevitably descended into complete chaos, which I expected after my playtesting experience. I had watched creators with early access build beforehand, so thankfully I already knew how to fake that raised foundation look. Thank you, people like James Turner, because otherwise I would have been completely lost trying to figure that out on my own. I also learned very quickly from watching those videos to keep an eye on the steps, because I had already seen some interesting stair behavior during the early gameplay. One thing I immediately loved was being able to resize the windows to perfectly fit this tiny home. That feature alone made it feel like you had a lot more objects than you actually did. Something I did not expect to struggle with was the actual size of the house. I knew I wanted the build to be tiny, but the moment I placed the single bed and the toilet inside, I realized I'd severely underestimated how much space things actually needed to be in Paralives. Suddenly, this cute little beach shack turned into a very realistic lesson in tiny home panic. I decided to leave that part in and keep building it anyway because I figured it might actually help other players who are brand new to the game and still adjusting to the scale of the objects and room sizes, especially coming from other life sim games where you're used to completely different sizing. In a second, you're going to watch me pull the bathroom wall back. Something I was completely used to doing in, let's say, The Sims 4, and did it without even thinking about it. After all, it appeared to be an option. Unfortunately, that little muscle memory moment came back to haunt me later in the build. One thing I did eventually learn, and by eventually I mean near the very end of the build, while fighting for my life with these walls, was that in Paralife, it's actually much easier just to delete the walls and rebuild them than trying to force something that's a little shortcut trick that I was used to using from other life sim games. If you're new like me and wondering why the game suddenly behaves like it personally hates your floor plan, there's a good chance that the answer is stop trying to build like you're using Sims 4 or even Sims 3 and go back to Sims 2 style building. I'll get back to what I mean about those walls in a little bit, but first let's talk roofing. As a Sims 2 builder, I genuinely found the roofing in Paralives almost suspiciously easy to use. After years of wrestling with roofs and committing acts against architecture just to make them line up correctly, being able to throw together a roof in only a few tries felt absolutely blessed. I do really love the kitchen objects that are already in Paralives, but once again, I could immediately tell the house was going to need more space than I had planned. You're going to see me pull that back wall out a bit, and thankfully that adjustment actually worked perfectly fine. I'm sure you're wondering how I knew the bathroom was already broken at this point. The first clue was when I added the wooden deck outside. The game decided the bathroom wanted to become part of the patio experience and added the deck flooring in the bathroom. The second clue was when I was placing the roof, I realized I could not get the ceiling to generate correctly over that section of the house. Being a building expert of chaos that I am, I naturally decided the smartest and most responsible thing to do was continue building forward and simply hope the problem fixed itself later. I have just finished placing a couple of columns on the front and back porch, and I need to tell you, I discovered another unexpected battle with Paralives. For some reason, I had a really hard time getting them to behave without sinking down in the porch itself. The path of least resistance is to place the column first and then stretch them out. Copy and pasting also had them sinking into the porch. A happy little accident had me click on 3 tiny dots on the kitchen cabinets, and suddenly I discovered corner pieces and an entire selection of cabinetry options that I had no idea even existed. It felt like I had accidentally unlocked a secret build menu just by randomly poking at things. Now that I know these are there, I absolutely have to go back later and redo parts of this kitchen. Can we say tipsy remodel? I knew myself well enough to understand I could lose hours of playtime with the color wheel. That was one of my greatest downfalls in The Sims 3. I could lose myself emotionally invested in 12 slightly different shades of beige. I already loved what came with the game, so I decided to keep things simple and stick with soft nautical colors for our beach house. Once I reached the kitchen floor, I realized I could no longer continue to pretend the bathroom situation was fine. That back wall had to go. I decided to delete the problem wall completely in the hopes that replacing it would fix the room's behavior. I was still operating purely on instincts gathered from years of other life simulation games, basically throwing builder logic at the problem and praying something worked. Thankfully, once that pesky wall was rebuilt correctly, the bathroom stopped acting completely possessed, and I was able to continue the build without feeling like the house itself was fighting me. My tiny little space finally started to come to life once I added all the decor and clutter pieces into the sitting room, bedroom, kitchen, and bath. With all of my builds, I feel like it's the details that make the space feel lived in and believable. I say this about this build with no exception. I did enjoy building in Paralives, and I can't wait to remodel something bigger. I already have my first mod, and yes, it's the one that lets me edit the entire town because I enjoy creating chaos on a neighborhood-wide scale. Now, gameplays wise, the jury is still out for me personally. I am not a Stardew style player at all, so gathering things, that system, and the daily task card, if I could, I would turn off that feature. I think I'd enjoy them if they were maybe, let's say, tied to a specific career or maybe a certain personality type, but I don't like them as a daily expectation. That being said, I am really optimistic and excited to see how the game evolves over time because there's already so much potential there. One of the funniest moments happened later when I took my para downtown to grab some cinematic B-roll footage, like I always do for my videos. What I didn't realize was that I had placed this para, I'm so sorry, I forgot her name, into the exact same town with the very first para I made, which is my tipsy mommy self. So suddenly I see me walking around town and I got ridiculously excited. I felt like I was spotting a local celebrity in public. Naturally, we immediately had to become friends with her, me. It ended up being one of the funniest, most unexpected, wholesome moments I had during the entire experience. Some of the things I struggled with were definitely because this game is still in early access, and some of them were simply me learning an entirely new way of building and playing. I'm really glad I decided to jump into Paralives early. Not only do I get to watch the game grow over time, but I also get a chance to grow, learn, and evolve alongside it. Through all the chaos, broken bathroom walls, sinking columns, accidental remodeling, my paras repeatedly testing my patience, I had a really good time. Let me know in the comments if you picked up the game yet and what your thoughts are so far. What features you're hoping to see added. Are you a builder, a game player, or a complete chaos gremlin like myself? Please take a moment to like and subscribe. I'm going to shut up now and let you finish watching me clutter in peace. I want to thank you all for watching and hanging out with me today. Happy life simming, and bye-bye.